Hello everyone, my name is Eva, and today I want to give an analysis of Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is a novel written by Jane Austen in 1813. This book is mainly written about the story of 5 daughters of Bennet family living in the country. The 5 sisters have their own loves and lives. They had different values and views on love. Under the British social atmosphere at that time, they chose their own path for the future life. I will use feminism, psychologism, and Marxism to analyze this book. I'm going to use feminism to analyze the novel. Girls didn't have much status in the society of England at that time. The only way for them to live well in later life is to find a husband of high social status and wealth, who can live safely for the rest of their life. Compared with the model women, they have no freedom at all. That's why in the book, Mrs. Bennet is so vain and hopes that each of her daughters will find a good husband with money. Mrs. Bennet reflected what the most British women at that time of book really thought. In construct, the idea of Elizabeth Bennet, the second daughter of Bennet family, is particularly prominent. Elizabeth is representative of women's pursuit of freedom. Elizabeth's outlook on life is Jane Austen's outlook on life. They believe that women should not choose a man. They do not have love because of money and status. The fundamental of marriage is love. If there is no love between two people, they should not get married. Elizabeth has no excessive pursuit of money, and what she yearned for an ideal equal love. This is evident in the fact that she has twice turned down marriage proposal. She turned down Darcy's proposal for the first time precisely because she thought he was arranged and disrespectfully for. Despite Darcy's expressions of love, Elizabeth firmly rejected him, because in the eyes of Elizabeth at that time, this feeling is not equal, not true love. She didn't not married for material and suitable reasons as her good friend Charlotte did. She didn't like Darcy, so she didn't choose to marry Darcy even though he was very high and rich. And she turned down her cousin Collins because she didn't like him. So, even though she knew that if she didn't marry Collins, she wouldn't be able to get her hands on the family's asset and live a pursuit life, she still chose not to accept the proposal. Elizabeth would rather the later half of life is not so rich. She also wants to choose their love is not tapped by money and material. Both of marriage proposals she rejected reflect her pursuit of personal independence and equal rights for women. In the novel, Elizabeth and her older sister Jane discuss their future marriage on the night after the dance. At that time, Elizabeth made it clear that her love should never be influenced by money. This is the embodiment of her female consciousness at a time when almost people choose to marry someone they don't love in the future because of money and status. Elizabeth's decision best reflects that she is an independent woman who does not pursue romantic love materially. Next, I will use Marxism to analyze this novel. In the novel, although Elizabeth and her family were wealthy in the country, they are proletariat compared with Darcy and Bingley's family condition. While Darcy and Bingley are bourgeois, The road between Elizabeth and Darcy is very difficult, and the most serious problem is their class and family conditions. Because of the different growing environment, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat have different ideas. In the book, Darcy once comment on Bennet expect Elizabeth and Jane. The other ladies and Mrs. Bennet were very rude. Darcy's upbringing was very good because of his excellent family condition and his good education since childhood. In the country, Mrs. Bennet's education concept of her daughter is to marry a good family with money and high status. So the daughters of Bennet's family looked very ill-bred and frivolous. One daughter even eloped with a sinister man. In the British area in the book, girls eloping with others would affect the reputation of the family. In the novel, Bingley's sister Caroline Bingley looks down on the Bennets because she feels that the Bennets had no money, no education, and low status. When she feels that Elizabeth would be the stumbling block to her marriage to Darcy, she invites Elizabeth and Jane to visit her residence. Caroline Bingley hopes to use this visit to tell Elizabeth that her status is very different from that of Darcy. She also takes the opportunity to recruit Elizabeth. After all, Caroline Bingley looks down on everyone lower than her, and Darcy's aunt Lady Catherine Debord also looks down upon people of lower status than her. So when she learned of Darcy's feeling of Elizabeth, she went to Elizabeth's house in the middle of night and asked Elizabeth not to be with Darcy because their class and family condition were too different. After all, the bourgeois in England at that time looked down their nose at the social inferiors. Their class consciousness is about. Lady Catherine Debord was eager to marry her daughter to Darcy, believed that only her daughter's status was worth of Darcy. Many of proletariat want to cling to the bourgeois in order to get money and position. Like Mrs. Bennet and Mir Bennet's cousin, William Collins, he was a powerful prince who often fawned over Lady Catherine Debord in order to gain money and chance to meet more influential people. This difference in status and money makes difference in how people get along. The third class distinction was real in England at that time. Bourgeois men of rank will not marry politely men of rank and money. In this novel, Darcy can marry Elizabeth, Bingley can marry Jane. It's a beautiful storyline. Reactions like Aunt Darcy's and Sister Bingley's are the real reality, the real behaviors of people of higher class. Next, I will analyze this book by psychoanalysis. In the article, George Wickham represents the idea in the Freudist psychoanalysis. He had been a playmate of Darcy in his childhood, and his father was Mr. Darcy's father's treasure. Old Darcy treated Wickham as equal as his son. They grow up together, play together, and educate together. When old Darcy dies, he personally arranges employment for Wickham as a great man so that he can have food and clothing, enjoy a high salary. But Wickham was not satisfied, and his greed for wealth made him constantable. When Darcy's sister was 14 years old, Darcy's father arranged that she could enter furniture when she got married. Wickham learned Darcy's sister always scarcely with him in order to achieve the goals of marriage with him. Fortunately, Darcy's early discovery prevented Wickham's success, so Darcy cancelled Wickham's job and fired him. Darcy kept it a secret to protect his sister, but Wickham lied to Elizabeth and said that Mr. Darcy is jealous of his father's love for him and is taking his job away from him. Wickham's jealousy, greed, and vanity are all primal reactions. His actions show the dark side of people, the most primitive desires of people.